live in Banjul, broadcasting for viewers in the Gambia and around the world. This is GRTS News at 2200 hours with me by Ibrahim Cham, and in our top stories this evening. Officials of the Small Ruminants Enhancement Project hand project sites for the constructions of livestock facilities in lower and central river regions. The farmer field facilitators of Action Aid International, the Gambia, visit project intervention sites as part of its climate change project. Plus, the Task Force on Disaster Response discusses resettlement scheme with the victims of the recent floods in Banjul, whose homes were completely destroyed. In sports, as we count down to the start of the FIFA 2022 World Cup in Qatar, this year's edition guarantees new experiences for all who will attend the Global Football Festival. In the international news, scuffles in Senegal's new parliament tainted first sessions on Monday, as the 14th Assembly of the Senegal convened for the first time since the July elections. And new Kenyan President William Ruto was welcomed to a whole audience of heads of state and governments in the Kasarani Stadium in Nairobi. Well, that's the headlines. More news coming ahead in just a moment. Welcome. Officials of the Small Ruminants Enhancement Project recently handed project sites to the Omalak and Competence Construction companies for the construction of livestock facilities in the Lower River region. The move is part of the project's objectives to boost livestock production and productivity in the region. Usman Balde reports from Jarosoma.
As part of efforts to boost livestock production and productivity, the Small Ruminant Enhancement Project is set to construct livestock management facilities in the Lower River region. The move is part of the project strategies to enhance livestock production, processing, and marketing. This, according to the director of the Small Ruminant Enhancement Project, Mahmoud Njai, is crucial in the development of the livestock subsector.
Today we are doing the handing over to the contractors so that they can begin work immediately. So for summer today, we have the slaughterhouse, we have the veterinary outlet, and we have the small ruminant market. But all these other structures I've named, they have benefited 4 boreholes, that is Sare Sajo, Madina Sancha, 3 boreholes, Sare Sajo, Madina Sancha, and Buiba Sano Koli. And they will also benefit in all the other structures in the schemes.
The Director General, Gambia Livestock Marketing Agency, Mahmoud Dabo, and the Regional Livestock Director for Lower River Region, Madu Kamara, both spoke of the importance of having such facilities in the region.
Because this will help us to have a terminal market in summer, and people have access to livestock both day and night, at any time that you want. For the slaughterhouse, if you look at the slaughterhouse, what they have is just a slab, and the sanitary component there definitely is not codally. But constructing a modern slaughterhouse here will help them to have meat that is fit for human consumption.
If the animal production is increased, and we need to have market, we need to have abattoir. So it's very, very important for the region, because if we are producing and we cannot sell, it's a problem. If we are to sell also, we don't have standard abattoir, slaughter slab, slaughterhouse, where you can slaughter, water facilities are there, you clean the meat and you take it to the market. So it is very, very important for the region. As we all know, Soma is at a strategic location between southern part of Senegal and northern part.
The Chief of Jarewes, Alhaji Yaya Jajusi, held the Small Ruminant Enhancement Project, the initiative saying such facilities will improve access to livestock and livestock products in the region.
We have that facility here. That will be easier for us to have drugs for our animals.
Project officials are hopeful that the constructions will be completed within the next 12 months. Usman Balde, GRTS News.
A similar engagement by officials of the Small Ruminant Production Project was held in Central River Region South, and Maud Laminsana tells us more.
This site will host the first modern farmer demonstration facility in the Central River Region. Contractors have been formally handed over this site commissioned by officials of the Small Ruminant Production Project set on enhancing farmer demonstration programs.
We are now implementing
the component A of the project, part of which is the production and processing and marketing facilities. The small ruminant project is a loan and it's $26.8 million. And the Gambia government is funding 1.64 million. It is a 4-year project. It started in 2019. We have done quite a lot. There are a number of components. We have access to Islamic finance, which has started since at the beginning of the year. So far, we have disbursed $1.8 million to the microfinance, and this is for the value chain actors.
The proposed small ruminant farmer demonstration center is a strategic approach to improve livestock management schemes for farmers across the country.
Projects are being launched or contracts are being handed over. Everyone is happy and pleased. See, when they are also open, the same thing. People will eat, will wine and dance together and say sweet things. But what happens after that is the question mark. You see, most of the time, some of these structures, they were here. For one reason or the other, something happened. But I want to believe that the people who are holding the mantle right now, they have also taken that to serve as a learning point for them. And they have planned better.
Officials say the livestock demonstration center will include a veterinary pharmacy to cover this part of the region.
Veterinary pharmacies, we are looking at key growth centers so that people wouldn't have to travel a long distance to buy quality drugs. So these pharmacies will be established. Since the aim of the project is to increase the number of small ruminants, make it available year-round, so that will reduce our importation or our dependency on small ruminants.
A small ruminant scheme is looking to boost livestock breeding via selections intended to expand livestock production.
Deliver on time and the quality specified, both in workmanship and materials. We will do our part of the job. The contractors have promised. Not only have they promised, they have undertaken and signed a document saying that they will do everything according to our design, according to our specifications, and according to the program that they have submitted with their bidding documents.
Contractors are expected to start work in earnest as the Agricultural Department refocuses energy on livestock management to expand its contribution to food security and economic growth. Maud Lamin Sane reporting for GRTS News from the Central River region.
The farmer field facilitators of Action Aid International The Gambia, with support from partners, are on a 5-day nationwide tour of project intervention sites as part of its climate change project. The project is meant to build climate change resilience through agriculture by helping small-scale farmers and vegetable gardeners. Details in this report by Baba Silla.
Agriculture contributes immensely to climate change in a symbiotic relationship interlinking climate challenges to food production outcomes. Experts see the answer in carbon reduction efforts minimizing greenhouse gas emission from agriculture to adapt to enhanced food production system designed to cope with climate change. Climate change is one of many pressures facing the agriculture sector amid growing demands and competition for resources, which need to be seen in a broader context linking farming, energy, and food security. Mobilizing support from partners, Action Aid International, the Gambia is devising ways to mitigate climate change through agriculture as a means to build resilience in food production. The non-governmental organization is on a 5-day tour across the country, meeting farmers to discuss challenges confronting the sector, to chart a way forward for greater production yields in agriculture. Some of the centers visited by the team of farmer field facilitators on day one of the tour include Banjulending and the Nyofila Women's Gardens, where the team had a fruitful interface with farmers. Ibrahim Ajaju, the manager of Green Farm Empire, an initiative he built to empower himself through farming. Jaju now experiences high production yields in various crops, particularly beans. Despite challenges he encountered along the way, such as inadequate seedlings and access to modern farm implements, among others, Mr. Jaju is still committed and determined to invest in agriculture.
Opportunity, but to be honest, stakeholders.
Here we are trying
Stakeholders should also try and invest in agriculture to empower us. We are the one who can develop this country and not foreigners.
So all means all means the youth sol la ko jannem isa keno.
Other factors derailing production in this part of the Gambia include a poor road network, inaccess to markets, stores, and inadequate water supply, which has become a major constraint undermining high agricultural yield in the Gambia, where many see little incentives agriculture as a sustainable livelihood.
We benefit a lot from this garden. It's here we pay our children's school fees and other needs. The only major challenges we face here is poor road network and inadequate water supply. We are appealing for help to enable us to boost our production and also to encourage others to embrace agriculture for sustainable livelihood.
The tour continues in the Lower River and Central River regions, where the action team will inspect other centers in the regions. Bawasila, GRTS.
To some legislative matters now, where lawmakers have resumed sittings, marking the beginning of the third ordinary session in the 2022 legislative year. As we hear in this report by Janke Ture, the lawmakers have considered and ratified the instrument for the amendment of the 1986 Constitution on International Labour Organization.
Almighty God,
an important document on workers' welfare arrives before parliamentarians, marks the launch of the 6th legislature in the third ordinary session of the National Assembly's 2022 legislative year. The Attorney General and Justice Minister Dauda Ejalo presented the document before members of the Assembly to consider and ratify the instrument amending the Constitution of the 1986 International Labour Organization.
The main objective of the proposed amendment is to make membership of the governing body of the ILO to be more representative by providing a means of appointment that considers various geographic, economic, and social interests of its constituent groups.
The International Labour Organization is devoted to promoting social justice and internationally recognized human labor rights, pursuing a founding mission that projects labor peace as an essential pathway to prosperity. In 1986, the International Labour Conference adopted an instrument of amendment proposing changes that affect 11 of the 40 articles within the Constitution of the International Labour Organization. Here, Minister Jallo outlines its impact if ratified.
With these amendments, the number of members of the governing body under the Constitution will increase to 112, and the manner of their allocation will also be affected. Of these, 56 seats are allocated to the government representatives, 28 each will be allocated to employers and workers' representatives. There would no longer be seats guaranteed for member states of chief industrial importance.
The important session witnessed a debate on the labour document, with some legislators describing it as an important instrument that needs to be adopted in conformity with the laws of the land that accord room for more representation.
The amendment, it does give room. It does even remove that there be no more an industrial, chief industrialist who to decide on behalf of member states.
If we are committed to our membership, we have to ratify the instrument.
The 1986 amendment, according to officials, addresses three main areas: the composition and governance of the governing body of the office, the procedure for appointment of the Director General, alongside rules governing how the Constitution may be amended. In the ensuing debate, some members of the Parliament asked for more clarification on the document, whilst others wanted to know about projected gains to uplift worker welfare and progresses made. After taking key notes from their concerns, Minister Jaro responded to questions, including clarifications on the existing Labour Act.
In our engagements with international bodies, the National Assembly will have an oversight to observe what we are doing, whether we are doing it rightly. So you are not necessarily going to legislate this instrument because it is not a domestic legislation. It is part of an international treaty for which the executive has participated. And we participate also in some of these complex negotiations as a bloc, as Africa bloc, or sometimes we participate as a sub-regional bloc. So we bargain. However, this particular legislation or piece of treaty we are looking at was, we have to say this, was negotiated and accepted by the First Republic, 1986. I think you have seen the date. So those of you who are asking whether you were consulted or not, whether appropriate consultation have taken place during that time, none of us can tell at this stage here. But it was the government of the First Republic in 1986 that participated on behalf of the Gambia in the negotiations of these amendments, and then they append Gambia's signature to these amendments. The delay why it took 36 years for Gambia to ratify, I don't know.
The Assembly subsequently considered and ratified the instrument for the amendment of the Constitution of the International Labour Organization 1986, while sittings were rescheduled to continue on Thursday. Janket Ture, GRTS News.
Away from that, the Task Force on Disaster Response under the Office of the Vice President has held meetings with the disaster victims from the Banjul floods who were relocated to the Friendship Hotel in Bakau. The meeting centered on a resettlement scheme of $10,000 for each of the 11 households residing in the hotel, which came personally from President Adama Barrow. This comes after their homes in Banjul were completely destroyed by heavy rains. The details in this report. These 11 households were relocated from St. Augustine's High School for a temporary resettlement at the Friendship Hotel in Bakau, since their homes in Banjul were severely damaged by torrential floods that left their houses inhabitable. The Disaster Response Task Force under the Vice President's office came to convey a goodwill gesture from His Excellency President Adama Barrow, who donated $10,000 to each displaced family. The flood victims expressed deep appreciation for the gesture, saying the funds will help them secure a new place to rent as they move to pick up their lives again. The Women, Gender and Children's Minister said that the elderly will be taken care of to allay existing challenges hampering their welfare.
Among them is an old man, Mr. Esa Adakwa, commonly known as Esa Fishpie, who has lived in Banjul for a very long time. I think he has been in the Gambia for over 30 years. And at the moment, he has nowhere to stay. We are told that where he used to stay, he couldn't pay rent, and the house is completely damaged, and so are all of his clothes and things that belong to him. So as a result, we are now arranging under my ministry to take him to the shelter for the elderly and children, where he'll be accommodated, and we'll take care of him, provide him with everything that he needs.
According to the Environment Minister, government is working on a long-term strategy to end the flood crisis so that inhabitants of flood-prone areas can live in a conducive setting free of disaster.
Because we received their pledge that they want to move to their new homes, either where they were renting or to look for a new place, but they are constrained with finance. But we want to engage them to inform them that it is not right for government to go to that far, because we also have to use the law within our limits. We have to support to make sure that we help them settle. But out of the goodwill of His Excellency, the President of the Republic of the Gambia, when he was informed about these situations, he volunteered from his own pocket to give each of these families $10,000.
The flood victims took turns to thank the President for the massive support package.
I will go. Hence, he is the one who brought me here. Wherever he's taking me, it's all right. Thank the Almighty Allah. Hence, he is going to give me a place to stay, sit down, sleep. You know, shelter is one of the most important on earth.
The National Disaster Management Agency is leading a major effort to boost community resilience and support internally displaced families. NDMA Executive Director Sana Dahaba reassured the public on mitigation strategies being put in place by the government to curb the level of disasters in flood-prone areas.
As a government, you can see when the flooding happened, the Vice President went around to look at the affected areas, and the President also followed the following day. And he came up with a policy pronouncement that the government of the Gambia will provide support to go to stream at a tune of $46 million. In addition to that, the government is requesting funding from $70 million from Indian government to improve the drainage system across the greater Banjul area.
As flood victims look forward to starting a new life, landlords are urged to be supportive and considerate as they search for new homes for their families. Reporting for GRTS News, I'm by Ibrahim Chan. The Office of the Inspector General of Police wishes to inform the general public that it will conduct a live firing exercise at the Tintin Bar firing range behind the Kamfenda village in Fonyi Kansala, West Coast region for the prison's riot squad currently undergoing training at the Police Intervention Unit. The firing exercise will be conducted tomorrow, Wednesday, 14 September 2022, from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. in the afternoon. In this regard, members of the public, particularly residents of Tintinba, Bullock, Kamfenda, Dumboto, Jiramba, Dasilame, Jomokunda and surrounding villages are urged to go about their business and should not panic by the firing exercise. In the same vein, residents within and surrounding villages of the aforementioned villages are advised to completely avoid the area for safety reasons, and the cooperation and understanding of the public is highly solicited. The release concludes. Well, time now to take our first break. Sports news is up next. Do stay. Welcome back. In sports, as the countdown to the start of the 2022 FIFA World Cup in Qatar begins, this year's edition guarantees new experiences for all who will attend the Global Football Festival. CGTN's Mohammed Abubakar tells us how unique Qatar 2022 is going to be.
The FIFA 2022 World Cup will enter uncharted territory this year. The 22nd edition of the biggest football showpiece will be one of the most unique, and here's why. 1. Host nation. Qatar is preparing to make history by hosting the first ever World Cup in the Middle East after winning the staging rights at the 2010 FIFA Congress. 2. Winter World Cup. This will be the first World Cup in winter months. Now, due to Qatar's unbearable summer heat, the tournament was moved from its June-July summer slot to November and December. However, all the stadiums in Qatar will have special air conditioning systems despite the cooler temperatures. 3. The last World Cup with 32 teams. The FIFA World Cup will expand from the 2026 edition, making Qatar 2022 the last tournament with 32 teams. The showpiece will have 48 teams from 2026. 4. Most expensive World Cup. Now, Qatar has reportedly spent over $200 billion on infrastructure, including stadium construction, hotels, transport systems, etc., making it the most expensive World Cup to date. By comparison, the 2018 World Cup reportedly cost Russia between 10 to 15 billion $. 5. Proximity. Now, teams and football fans won't have to travel far to go from venue to venue during the competition. All 8 stadiums in Qatar are within 1 hour's drive from each other. This is because Qatar is the smallest country to host the tournament. Finally, 6. Female referees. The FIFA 2022 World Cup will include female referees for the first time in a major men's tournament. Stephanie Frappart from France, Salima Mukansanga from Rwanda, and Yoshimi Yamashita from Japan have all been selected to be center referees at the World Cup in Qatar.
Wow, what an experience that will be. But we'll be right back with news from beyond our borders. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Scuffles in Senegal's new parliament tainted first session on Monday. The 14th Assembly of Senegal convened for the first time since the July elections. Tensions was high and MPs were highly strong. Per the agenda, the 165 members of the parliament were to elect their president. However, the Assembly failed to reach an agreement on the electoral process, so much that the deputies of the opposition and the presidential camp came to blows. and the police were called. Details in this report.
Quarrel over debate and anger. On Monday, the 14th legislature of Senegal convened for the first time since the July election. The stakes were high, but the agenda, the 165 members of parliament, were to elect their president. However, the assembly failed to reach an agreement on the electoral process, so much so that deputies of the opposition and the presidential coalition came to blows and the police were called. It's eventually Amadou Mamé Diop, a member of President Macky Sall's coalition, who was elected. The vote was boycotted by the main opposition parties, Yewi Askanui and Wallo Senegal, which had failed to name a single candidate. The two parties struck a blow against the ruling coalition during the last election, winning 80 seats to force the president's Benno Bokk Yakaar coalition to look for new allies to keep its absolute majority. MPs are elected for a 5-year period. This time, more than 44% of seats are held by women.
William Ruto was welcomed to a whole audience of heads of state and governments in the Kasarani Stadium, Nairobi. The 60,000-seat stadium was filled before dawn. Spectators wanted to witness the moment the United Democratic Alliance candidate will be officially sworn in.
William Samuel Ruto was welcomed to a whole audience of heads of state and governments in the Kasarani Stadium, Nairobi. The officials attended Tuesday the inauguration ceremony of Kenya's 5th president since independence. After serving as deputy president under Uhuru Kenyatta, Ruto took the oath for the top office.
Of the people of Kenya. So help me God. So help me God.
He swore to be faithful to the Republic of Kenya, protect and defend the Constitution and laws, and uphold the sovereignty, integrity, and dignity of the people of Kenya. The 60,000-seat stadium was filled before dawn. Many spectators were clad in yellow, the color of Ruto's party, and waved Kenyan flags. All wanted to witness the moment the United Democratic Alliance candidate would officially be sworn in. However, the venue could not welcome everyone. Scores of people were crushed and injured as they forced their way into the stadium. Most of the wounded were rushed to Nairobi's main hospital.
This newscast, a quick look at our top stories before we take leave of you. Officials of the Small Ruminants Enhancement Project hand project sites for the construction of livestock facilities in the Lower and Central River regions. The farmer field facilitators of Action Age International, the Gambia, visit project intervention sites as part of its climate change project. Plus, the Task Force on Disaster Response discusses resettlement schemes with the victims of the recent floods in Banjul, whose homes were completely destroyed. In sports, as we count down to the start of the FIFA 2022 World Cup in Qatar, this year's edition guarantees new experiences for all who will attend the Global Football Festival. In the internationals news, scuffles in Senegal's new parliament taint first session on Monday as the 14th Assembly of Senegal convened for the first time since the July elections. And new Kenyan President William Ruto was welcomed to a whole audience of heads of state and governments in the Kasarani Stadium in Nairobi. Well, that does it for this edition of GRTS News. Many thanks for watching. Please enjoy the rest of our programs.